Good morning, America. For our viewers in the West, Hurricane Ernesto on the move. The powerful storm gaining strength after leaving half of Puerto Rico without power, bringing strong winds and flooding rain. Now Ginger with the track, where it's heading next, in the alert for the East Coast this weekend.
Race for the White House. Vice President Harris set to appear with President Biden in their first joint appearance since he dropped out of the race. Donald Trump delivering a speech on economic policy, but often going off message to attack Vice President Harris, with the race in a dead heat. And the big announcement from the White House this morning on the cost of prescription drugs.
Breaking news. The Russian-American ballerina sentenced moments ago after pleading guilty to treason for donating $52 to a Ukrainian charity. And another American is arrested in Moscow. Plus, Putin's government evacuates tens of thousands of people as Ukraine pushes its surprise attack further into Russia.
Breaking overnight. The president of Columbia University resigns after facing fierce criticism over her handling of campus protests. The reaction this morning.
Hello, London. Taylor Swift gets ready to take to the stage in front of 90,000 fans for the first time since an alleged terror plot forced the cancellation of her Vienna shows. The new details about security. We're live at Wembley Stadium.
Caught on camera.
Someone trying to kidnap us!
The new warning for parents after 2 near kidnappings. How you can help keep your kids safe.
Remembering Gena Rowlands.
I don't know why, but it makes me feel sad.
The Oscar-nominated actress and star of The Notebook, passing away after battling the same disease as her character.
The fast food wars heat up with the biggest chains battling for your dollar and families looking for ways to save. The president of Chili's joins us live with what they've got cooking.
Can't touch this. Can't touch this.
And lift off.
Hammered in the air, deep to left field, history!
Yankee slugger Aaron Judge makes history overnight, the fastest ever to hit 300 home runs. As the Little League World Series gets underway, with Maui scoring an opening win. Plus, the barrier-breaking fencing team is bringing the goal to Times Square this morning.
Can't touch this.
Live in Times Square, this is Good Morning America.
Good morning, America. A lot of great things going on in the sports world that make you happy. And thank you for being with us. And Rhonda, we have a special event this morning.
We certainly do. Halle Berry has made menopause awareness and research her mission. And this morning, she's here live for a special roundtable discussion with experts. We've invited women here to the studio. That's all coming up in our last half hour.
We're paying a lot of attention to that, but we do begin with Hurricane Ernesto hitting Bermuda after causing major flooding and power problems on Puerto Rico, and now on the move.
Of course, Ginger is here with the track and timing of the storm for us. Good morning, Ginger.
Hey, good morning. So the good news for Puerto Rico is the storm is gone. The bad news is there are still hundreds of thousands of people without power. At its peak, nearly half the island was without power, more than 720,000. Fajardo hit hard. They're on the east side of the island, one of my favorite parts. And you can see also it wasn't just the winds up to 74 miles per hour, but the flooding up to 10 inches, which was exactly what the forecast was. But you know you get flash flooding on some of those rivers, and it can last days after the storm has passed. Now, we're seeing the storm about 600 some miles south-southwest of Bermuda. So it still has a couple days to get there. Looks like Friday night into Saturday is going to be the worst of it for Bermuda. It will intensify. This storm is going into very warm water. Once it gets toward Bermuda and then north of there, we're talking 5 to 10 degrees above average. So as it skirts east of Nova Scotia, we'll look for very high surf and rip currents. Michael, if you're going to the beach this weekend, you have to know some of the waves could be up to 10 feet.
Yeah, be careful out there, Ginger. Thank you so much for that. We're going to turn now to the race for the White House. The focus is now on the economy. Vice President Harris preparing to lay out her policy, and former President Trump struggles to stay on message. Rachel Scott has the latest for us. Good morning, Rachel.
Hey, Michael, good morning to you. And it's shaping up to be another busy day in politics. President Biden will appear with Vice President Kamala Harris for the first time since he dropped out of the race, as former President Donald Trump prepares to take questions at a press conference later this afternoon. But both of these candidates turning their focus to one of the most important issues for voters this election, the economy. This morning, with the 2024 race locked in a dead heat, Donald Trump facing pressure from Republicans to focus on policy issues, not insults. The former president traveling to North Carolina for a speech his campaign said would focus squarely on the economy.
We're talking about a thing called the economy. They wanted to do a speech on the economy.
Trump again mocking Vice President Kamala Harris's laugh and questioning her intelligence.
That's the laugh of a crazy person, I will tell you, if you haven't known it. It's a crazy. She's crazy. She's not smart. She's not intelligent.
The former president did not provide specifics, but outlined broad policy ideas, promising to slash regulations, increase domestic energy production, and eliminate taxes on tips and Social Security benefits for seniors. Harris, who is expected to roll out her economic policy tomorrow, is now vowing to end taxes on tips too.
She's doing a plan. You know, she's going to announce it this week, maybe. She's waiting for me to announce it so she can copy it. Like, remember, a couple of days ago? And we will have no tax on tips. I said that was my plan.
His speech coming just hours after a new report showed inflation is cooling, now at its lowest level in 3 years. President Biden taking the credit.
I told you we're going to have a soft landing. We're going to have a soft landing. My policies are working.
So even though inflation is cooling, Americans are still clearly feeling the pinch, something that Donald Trump is seizing on. He does pull better than Harris on this particular issue. Robin.
All right, Rachel, our thanks to you. And we have breaking news. The White House this morning unveiling a Medicare drug deal that they say will save enrollees more than $1 billion. Senior White House correspondent Selina Wang joins us with those details. Good morning to you, Selina.
Hey, good morning, Robin. Today, the president and vice president are making a historic announcement about lowering the cost of 10 drugs for Americans on Medicare. The White House says this will save billions of dollars when prices go into effect in January 2026. People on Medicare are expected to save $1.5 billion in out-of-pocket costs, while the federal government is expected to save $6 billion. The president says this is relief for the millions of seniors that take these drugs to treat everything from heart failure, arthritis, diabetes, and more, adding that it's also a relief for American taxpayers. In her own statement, the vice president saying today's announcement will be life-changing for so many of her loved ones across the nation. Now, this is a major victory for the Biden-Harris administration. This is the first time ever that the government has been allowed to directly negotiate with drug manufacturers about the prices of some of its most expensive drugs. Biden has made clear that lowering costs for Americans is a top priority for the last few months of its presidency, and Vice President Harris expected to continue campaigning on lowering costs and drug prices. Lindsay?
Welcome news from many. Selina, thank you. Now to breaking news in the case of a Russian-American ballerina who pleaded guilty to treason charges after donating money to a charity supporting Ukraine. Our chief global affairs correspondent Martha Raddatz has this story. Good morning, Martha.
Good morning, Lindsay. This comes at a time when tensions with Russia are extremely high, and Americans are being warned not to travel there. But this former ballerina and another American now face years in prison.
This morning, a Russian court sentencing Ksenia Karolina to 12 years in prison, convicted for high treason after reportedly donating $52 to a Ukrainian charity. The 33-year-old former ballerina is a dual Russian-American citizen who was living in Los Angeles and was arrested on a trip to Russia in January to visit family. The treason conviction comes just a day after a Moscow court sentenced another American citizen detained for hooliganism at an upscale Moscow hotel. He faces 5 years in prison for allegedly assaulting a police officer. Russian authorities identify the man as Joseph Tater and say he was drunk and behaving aggressively at the hotel when police were called. The State Department said it was working to see if American officials can make contact with Tater.
We're aware of these reports of another American citizen being arrested in Russia, and we're working to get as much information as we can.
It was just 2 weeks ago that 3 Americans were exchanged in a prisoner swap with Russia, but those Americans, including 2 journalists, were deemed wrongfully detained. Michael?
All right, Martha, thank you so much. We're going to turn now to Ukraine's attack inside Russia that's forced the evacuation of tens of thousands of people. Foreign correspondent Britt Clennett joins now with the latest. Good morning, Britt.
Good morning, Michael. Yeah, those 200,000 evacuations coming as Russia upgrades its alertness for Belgorod, with now 2 regions under a federal state of emergency. Russia very much caught off guard by this surprise operation, which is the most serious attack on its territory since the Second World War. Now, Ukrainian forces capturing nearly 400 square miles of Russian land since launching this offensive into the Kursk region over a week ago. Ukraine saying it carried out a massive long-range drone attack on 4 Russian airfields, one reportedly housing MiG fighter jets. President Zelensky hailing this mission as timely, accurate and effective. Ukraine also says it captured 100 fighters, and we understand that Russia has been described this mission as bold, while a senior Russian military official has vowed to retaliate with an all-out offensive. Robin?
All right, our thanks to you, Britt, for your reporting. Now, the urgent search for a convicted killer who escaped while on the way to a medical appointment in North Carolina. Authorities say they no longer believe he's in the immediate area. Faith Abube joins us now with the latest. Good morning, Faith.
Good morning to you, Robin. Authorities have been flooded with tips, but right now they're homing in on 2 solid leads they hope will take them directly to that convicted killer.
This morning, the reward for information leading to the capture of escaped killer Ramon Alston increasing to $35,000, but the ground operation now called off.
We feel pretty comfortable from a search standpoint that offender Alston is not in the immediate vicinity.
After deploying 335 people from 19 agencies to scour over 1,300 acres in the first 24 hours, investigators are now shifting course.
I'll tell you that there are 2 leads we've got them, and that's a teaser to the folks out there that know what's going on and know that they were involved in it. We know you and we're coming for you.
Alston escaped Tuesday morning, bolting from a transport vehicle on the way to a medical appointment. The 2 accompanying guards now being questioned. While Alston may have slipped his leg restraints, his handcuffs and waist chain were still on.
An inmate has just run from the hospital.
But Alston was moving too quickly to show what happened. The sheriff has known the fugitive since birth.
He's extremely cagey. He's extremely dangerous, and he has nothing to lose.
He was serving a life sentence for killing 1-year-old Malia Williams in a random shooting in 2015.
And the Orange County Sheriff doesn't believe that his guards had anything to do with the escape. He also points out that about 80% of escaped criminals are usually caught within 18 miles of that escape scene within a week, and they're hoping this is one of those times as well. Michael.
Yeah, I think the public hopes that is the case there. Thank you so much, Faith. We're going to turn now to a new global health alert. The World Health Organization has declared MPox, formerly known as monkeypox, a public health emergency. Ariel Resif is here with the details for us. Good morning, Ariel.
Good morning to you, Michael. Global health officials are warning about the surging cases of a more severe strain of MPox in Africa. The WHO hoping countries will now work together to help stem the tide of the virus spreading on the continent, mostly now among children.
This morning, the World Health Organization declaring MPox, the virus formerly known as monkeypox, a public health emergency of international concern as cases of a dangerous new strain spread across parts of Africa. The version of MPox now circulating in more than a dozen countries on the continent, far more severe than what the U.S. saw in 2022. Back then, the majority of people infected were gay and bisexual men. But according to the World Health Organization, those most at risk today are under 15. They account for over 70% of cases and 85% of deaths. Fatalities worldwide topping 530, while the total number of cases is up an alarming 160% compared to last year. The strain in Africa hasn't been seen outside of that continent, and health officials here in the U.S. stress there is no elevated risk in this country. Cases of the disease here remain far lower than 2 years ago. MPox typically spreads with close skin-to-skin contact. It presents with symptoms like a blister-like rash, fever, muscle aches, and fatigue. But the WHO says they're examining different modes of transmission.
Unsurprisingly, viruses will continue to evolve. We saw this with COVID, and now with MPox, we see new versions of the virus that become more transmissible or potentially more fatal.
And again, health officials here are making it clear that there is no additional threat in the United States. But if you think you may be at risk, talk to your doctor and consider getting the 2-dose vaccine. If you've already done so, there's no recommendation for a booster at this time. Guys.
Good to keep in mind. Ariel, thank you. This morning, we are remembering Gena Rowlands, the two-time Oscar nominee, was known for her roles in movies such as A Woman Under the Influence and The Notebook. Lara's here with more on her life and legacy.
And we just adored her work. Good morning to you all. Gena Rowlands lit up movie and television screens for 7 decades, but it was one role as the elder version of Allie in The Notebook, where she captured so many of our hearts. In it, she played a character battling dementia, and earlier this year, her son confirmed that she was facing a similar battle in real life.
Millions of moviegoers came to know Gena Rowlands when she gracefully portrayed the older version of Allie Calhoun.
It's a beautiful story.
Yes, it is.
I don't know why, but it makes me feel sad.
A character who struggled to remember fleeting moments of her lifelong romance in The Notebook. Earlier this year, her son, Nick Cassavetes, who directed the film, told Entertainment Weekly, "I got my mom to play older Allie, and we spent a lot of time talking about Alzheimer's and wanting it to be authentic. And now, for the last 5 years, she's had Alzheimer's," adding, "She's in full dementia, and it's so crazy. We lived it, she acted it, and now it's on us." Rowlands made her movie debut in The High Cost of Loving in 1958.
You're wonderful.
But she found her groove in Hollywood when she teamed up with her husband, legendary filmmaker John Cassavetes, for 10 movies, quickly becoming the royal couple of independent filmmaking.
Tell me what you want me to be, how you want me to be. I can be that. I can be anything. You tell me, Nikki.
She earned her first Oscar nomination for her fearless performance in the 1974 drama A Woman Under the Influence, written for her by her director husband.
Come on. Don't hang back. I'd love it.
Her second nomination came 6 years later for Gloria, playing a woman helping a boy escape the mob, again directed by her husband. In 2015, she was presented with an honorary Oscar for her contributions to film. It would be one of her last public appearances.
You know what's wonderful about being an actress is you don't just live one life, yours. You live many lives. I'm happy to have been able to spend some time with you. Thank you.
Gena Rowlands was 94 years old.
And at that ceremony you just saw when she received her Academy Award, Gena was asked if she was surprised at the longevity of her career, and she replied with her trademark husky laugh, "Act this long? I didn't think I'd be living this long." We sure are grateful for her 70-plus career, guys.
We certainly are. Thank you for that, Lara.